Hey everyone, welcome to Ecom Life. I'm John.
I'm
And
Brian. I'm
you,
back.
you're back. Oh my god, 3 weeks, dude.
Dude,
How
it
was
was
it?
long. It was great. We had a good
Yeah,
time. I got tan, if you can't tell.
I
We were
did
at the
too. I was just
beach.
noticing that too. Well, I'm not
Um,
gonna put myself next to you.
we did a
So,
lot of beach time. It
a
was
lot of beach
fun.
time.
Yeah, we went to
Your kids did a
SeaWorld.
lot of singing too, right?
Yeah, they did a lot of singing. We went to cathedral. I don't even know the name of it. It was like a new modern style cathedral.
Really?
It was interesting. I've never been to a modern cathedral before.
Really? Have you been
Yeah.
to an old school one?
Yeah, I used to sing in
Oh
high
yeah,
school. Yeah, I was in a lot of choir
nice.
stuff, and
Maybe
so
we'll have to have you sing on a podcast one of these times.
maybe, yeah. No, yeah, I went
That's
to New
cool,
York
man.
and sang in a couple
Oh,
old
that's
Catholic
nice.
cathedrals that are really cool. But yeah, so it was a
So
good
it's
time.
fun. 3 weeks. How'd it
Three
feel to be
weeks,
gone 3 weeks?
amazing. Until about a week and a half in. I don't know. I think there's a balance in life, right? Like you
Yeah.
can't just chill your whole life. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Yesterday when I got back,
Yeah.
it was great to be back.
Yeah.
I love doing both. I love working and playing.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
it was
missed you,
good.
man. It's good to have
Thanks.
it. It's hard doing a podcast where I'm like the only one talking.
It's hard to do the John and Brian
I try to
podcast
get
without
Lindy. I
Brian.
try to get Lindy to talk, but she's a little shy. She likes to stay off camera. How you doing, Lindy?
I'm doing well.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Lindy's producing. So, guys, we're so excited to have this episode. We always put a lot of thought into what we're going to talk about, like the
Yeah.
different topics. And we want to keep this podcast, talking more about just print on demand or e-commerce, but, business life. That's why it's Ecom Life,
Yeah,
right? It's all
exactly.
encompassing. So today's topic, what we thought we would talk about is the 5 things that we wish we would have done differently when we first started our business.
Yeah.
So I know there's some good stories in here.
Yeah. Well, I would go as far as not just
Yeah.
starting our business together, but starting our businesses.
Yes,
Because
right.
we have a history, kind of a unique history
Yeah.
where, we've been running this business together, but we also have done our own businesses on the side in the past and stuff. And
No, I
there's
agree.
a lot of mix that comes into that.
Well, yeah.
so.
Well, that's a good segue. Do you want to talk about the business, your first business, the one you started?
Yeah. So my first business was a manufacturing business. I went out and I bought a laser engraver and I started it in my dad's garage.
Oh,
I
the classic story. Huh?
Yeah, it's kind of. I could bore you guys forever on it, but I was supposed to be deployed with the Army, and
Yeah.
so we moved out of our apartment. My wife was
Mhm.
pregnant at the time. We moved in with my parents because I was going to be going to Iraq. And then that ended up not happening. So we were at my parents' house, and then we were saving up to buy a house.
Mhm.
And I decided to buy a laser engraver and start a business in my parents' garage while being in the Army. And
So what'd your wife think about using the money for the house for a laser
yeah,
engraver? Was that hard for her?
It was hard, yeah, for sure. We kind of flipped the script all of a sudden. I mean, we still ended up buying a house. Everything worked out, but it was definitely nerve-wracking for sure because
I bet.
it was like 20 grand, and it's like here we are saving up for a house, and then all of a sudden I have this genius idea that I'm going to make hundreds of millions of dollars with this.
You're gonna make dozens of dollars.
Dozens of dollars with
Yeah,
this laser
exactly.
engraver.
That's cool.
And it was awesome. It had a lot of bumps, and I'll talk about them hopefully coming up with these 5 things that we would have done differently because there was definitely some crazy times with that, but it was all
Yeah.
good.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah.
So should I go way back? My first business.
Yeah, dude, go way back.
I was thinking
man.
about it. I'm like, should I go? No. Well, so when I was 12, we had some. See, I told
You had
I'd
to
go
walk
way back.
uphill both ways.
Yeah, exactly. No. So we had a. This is more of just a little fun story. Then I'll tell you my actual first business. But I don't think I've ever told you this story. So I grew up in Syracuse, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And in the backyard, we had lots of woods, and we could do the RC cars back there. And so we built a little track back there, and we were charging kids to go run their cars there. We were
That's
making
awesome.
money. Yeah.
We did a lawn care company.
Did you?
My brother started it. We were like shoveling sidewalks and stuff. My
Oh,
mom
nice.
would make us go to all the widows in our neighborhood, and we had to shovel their sidewalks first, and then we could go shovel other sidewalks
Oh,
and make
cool.
money. But then I got the bright idea. I looked at it and I said, you know what? I don't like being out in the sun all day long. I'm gonna go babysit people's kids. That way I can play Nintendo with them all day long.
Is that why you have 6 kids now?
Yeah. No, yeah.
No,
So
no,
that's cool.
Yeah, so I did that. My sister always jokes because I had her collect the money, work for me,
Mhm.
you know, to like I think I charged like a quarter or something. But then she wanted her to do it too, and I charged her. I didn't even let her do it for free, even though she was a paid employee.
That's
I
hilarious.
maybe paid her a quarter or something. No, but I my first business was and I've talked about this before, but I got laid off my job back in 2009, right during the recession, and I did online marketing for home builders, and so doing SEO, websites, that kind of thing. So that was my first business, and then later on, that didn't really work out, and then later on, I started a T-shirt business, print on demand, which we are going to talk about today. So that'll be cool. So, having said that, we're going to talk about those 5 things that we wish we had done differently. And if you're just starting your business, I really hope that you'll listen because, you know, one of the keys to, I think, growing and being successful is to learn from other people's mistakes, right? There's no sense in
Yeah.
you repeating someone's mistakes if you can learn from them, right?
Yeah.
And so, Brian, do you want to take it away with the first one?
Actually, before we go to the first one, something
Okay.
just hit me, you know, and I think like before we get into these 5 things, think about like because these are things that we made as mistakes, right, or that we would have changed.
Yeah.
But I'm still here. I'm still running a business, right? I'm still
Yeah.
growing it, and I think it all boils down to the fact that I had a really strong why for what I
Yeah.
was doing,
Yeah.
and it made these 5 things not as crucial.
Yeah,
right.
no,
like
that's
like I
true.
could get through them,
Right.
and I could go through those growing pains. And if you don't have that mindset as you do something, you're not going to be able to get through those growing pains.
That's a good point.
you
I
know?
love that. Yeah.
So but
Everyone has their own journey too.
exactly.
Right.
So, but I would suggest finding your deep why of your whole purpose, right? For why you're doing a business, why you're trying to do these late nights, this crazy idea that everybody looks at you and says, "Why are you doing that? Just go get a job," right?
Yeah.
You know. But so on this list, number 1 for me, right, was manufacturing and what I would have done differently. So, back to my story, when I started my laser engraving company, I was like, you know what? I've got this great idea. Laser engravers, they're just, you know, they've been around for 15 years now or so as like an industry like that people are using. They're starting to get more popular.
Has it only been around that long?
Like as
personal-wise?
real like something that you could the average consumer could buy at, say, about 15 years.
Wow.
But it was still like you're still up at like $20,000.
Right.
I'd say the Chinese stuff more like 10, 11 years. I don't know. But so I got this ingenious idea, you know, and I started researching all these different companies that were out there doing laser engraving and cutting boards and signs and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm totally going to do this. And so I jumped into it, found a company called Full Spectrum Laser, FS Laser. They're in Nevada, Las Vegas, and I bought their highest end model that they had at the time.
Wow, look at you.
Well, because you know me, I go big or go home. I don't do something just half. Like
that's awesome.
I looked at it and I said, you know what? I want something that's industrial, that's big enough that I can do big items or small items, and I can do mass production. And so I didn't want to buy a small laser that I knew I'd have to upgrade eventually. So, which I ended up upgrading anyways. And but for me, it was I wish on manufacturing that I would have done a little bit more research with e-commerce and online business, because I love making stuff, and I probably wouldn't change that. But I really wish that I would have known more about T-shirts. I wish I would have known more about
Print on demand.
print on demand in general. It wouldn't have changed me buying a machine, because my experiences with production and stuff like that, it's just what I love, right? But it definitely would have given me some more tools to be able to expand my business faster, and it would have really helped me in a lot of different aspects, right? To be able to have unique products and use those products, and even think more outside of the box and using other people's infrastructure and stuff like that. So that's my first big takeaway, is that I just jumped like This is how dumb I was. I went and bought my laser, and I set it up in my garage, in my dad's garage, and I went to Home Depot and bought a bunch of like granite tiles and stuff, and I was like, dude, this is gonna be so easy. And I got on Word. That's how dumb I am. Like, I got on Word and took like a picture of like an LDS temple, and I threw that on there. And so like an LDS temple is kind of like a cathedral for the Catholic Church, you know, but for the Latter-day Saints. And so I threw that onto a Word document, and then I threw that onto the laser, and it just came out just like white, like it, just like the way the laser engraves. And so like I was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. And because of that learning curve, I wasted a lot of money. I wasted a lot of wood. I mean, I went out because I started doing that, and I finally got the tiles to work, right? I figured out how the design side worked. Then I was like, okay, so now I've got an actual feasible product. And then I was like, oh crap, how do I get this in front of somebody's face? So I had to go buy a camera. I had, you know, all this equipment that I bought, lights and all that stuff to learn how to do photography so I could take pictures, and it was just insane, right? Like just all this stuff. And then once
I'm too lazy to do all that stuff.
Once I got the photography done, I realized I threw it on Facebook, and I got like 30 sales off of this one tile design.
Really?
Yeah, 30 sales in like an hour.
Like on your personal Facebook?
It was a Facebook group in Tooele, because I was living in Tooele at the time, which is right across from Salt Lake, right across the mountains. And they had a Facebook group that's like mom Facebook group for like moms
what
making products.
There?
I know, right? And it was like moms. It was like this mom group where like all these moms would make like.
Like, who's a shady guy?
They had crickets and stuff, you know. And so,
crickets.
Like the cricket cuts or whatever. Yeah. And so they were cutting like vinyl and stuff and putting it on wood and all that stuff. And I was like, I can throw my product in there. And so I threw it in there, and I sold 30 of this design like immediately.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Feel, man?
It was awesome.
It
was
give
really
you like
cool.
a little confidence boost?
Yeah, it was cool. And then right after that, it died, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh. Then I started, and I don't recommend anyone doing this.
You joined another mom group?
No, I was working at a company. I was working at a company in Salt Lake, and
we should have an advisory on this, Lindy. Like, don't try this at home underneath the video.
This is actually what got me into woodworking. So I launched that product. I sold 30 of them, and then it died off, and I couldn't sell any more. I was just like, what the heck, you know? And so I was like,
where's the millions I was going to make?
Yeah, where's the billions of dollars I'm still in my garage? But then it never really took off, and so I ended up learning how to do woodworking, because I was like, well, I can't just do these square 12-inch by 12-inch tiles. I've got to figure out other things, you know. And I did find the wood tiles that they look like wood, and I was engraving on those for a while. But then I was like, I should probably just learn how to make signs. So I went out and learned how to make signs. And then I started selling NFL signs at my job. Well, it was like, so
hey, NFL, if you're listening to this, do not sue us.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore, you know. And I didn't make that much. But like the guy in the warehouse was like, wait, you got a laser engraver? I want such and such sign. And so I just was like, it was just word of mouth. It wasn't like I was out there like making NFL signs to sell them. And it was just, he was like, this is my team. I want you to do this team. And so I did it, and then I brought it in and gave it to him, and then he showed it to all the other guys in the warehouse, and they're like, I want one for my mother-in-law. I want one for this. And then I started selling them, and it did really well. And then I kind of opened up an Etsy store. But I look back on it and how much time it consumed. Like, don't get me wrong now, like I feel like I have such a talent with understanding that and understanding the whole production side of things that it feels like it's something that I can always do, right? It's
a skill.
It's a skill that I've learned, that I've got in my bag, that I can always use, you know, and I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I was very much, you know, and when we get into the POD side of things, we'll talk a little bit about the differences, you know, like I liked the control that I had of making sure that, like, when I did a product and I gave that to a person, I was there from the beginning of the product to the end of the product. I literally went and picked out that piece of wood for that person. I went to our lumber yard, picked out the mahogany or the walnut or whatever type of wood that I was buying. I hand cut it, I milled it, you know, I ran it on my jointer, my planer, all these woodworking tools, ran it through the table saw, to cut it down to size, the miter saw.
Mm-hmm.
Made it perfect, routed the edges,
Wow.
sanded it by hand. But I was up doing that till like 3 a.m. every night, you know?
I was just gonna say
But
that
it
sounds
felt
exhausting.
but it is. But it felt so good.
Yeah.
It was like therapeutic, right? It was like,
Uh-huh.
remember when we painted those little minifigures?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like therapeutic. It's
Uh-huh.
like doing something that's kind of, you know, that you can just throw headphones in and you just go to town at
Yeah.
it, and then you create something, and then you take it to that person, you see their eyes light up when it's
Mhm.
exactly what they were thinking it was going to be.
No, that is cool.
So, but it was hard. Like,
Yeah.
And I know we're on the things that I would have done differently,
you-
right? There's things that I really enjoyed
But you
about
enjoyed
it.
the process.
I
of
enjoyed
it.
the process, but what I didn't enjoy is the loss of time that I had.
So maybe doing more research into the business, ecom.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things I was learning at the time because it was my first business, right?
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, my first real
Yeah.
legit business.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot that I was learning at that time, right? Of how to run a business, how to create a product and manage that product and manage orders and things like that, you know? But it was a lot for my wife, and it was a lot for my children, and it was just a lot on everybody, you know? Like, I remember me and my wife had this huge discussion because I hadn't, even though I was making sales, I was still trying to, you know, and I wasn't having to pay it off because I paid cash for my machine and all the equipment that I bought. But it was like, it was always sucking away from our financials. It was never bringing into our financials.
It was more of a hobby then.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say it was a hobby. It was just because like a hobby is where you can at least somewhat afford it,
Yeah.
right? It was like,
Yeah.
like I want to do this because of what it was an investment, right? It
Yeah.
was what I could do for the future and what I thought it could do. But it didn't mean that that's what it was actually doing. And it was really hard on my wife. We had a conversation once where she was like, I think you should just sell it. Sell the laser, sell everything. You know, like I couldn't sell the company, it wasn't making money, right? But it was like sell all the equipment that are worth money,
Yeah.
and then we just move on and you just go do a 9 to 5 like everybody else, you know.
Yeah.
And I was doing that as well.
Yeah,
know?
you were doing both.
Yeah,
right?
I was working, you know, sometimes I'd work the night shift or the morning shift, depending on, you know, the day or the week or what we needed to do at my job. I was in production there as a quality auditor, and I would get home, and the first thing I do when I get home is either mow the lawn and then go to work or whatever, you know. Like, I never really got time with my family. We didn't get vacations. I wasn't going on 3-week vacations. I wasn't able to do those types of things, and it was really hard on mine and my wife's relationship at first.
Oh, I bet.
You know, and we kind of had a talk, and it was like, I remember
It's
somebody
me or the
said-
laser.
No. But somebody said it this way. It was like, when you marry an entrepreneur, you don't just marry them; you marry them and their business. Like, it's
true,
part of
man.
the relationship, and I think that's kind of what came down on our conversation was like, even if I quit this business on laser engraving, I have this entrepreneur mindset. I would just find something else, you know, but it was hard. It was really hard doing it that way, but I did like it, right? I do like
It was
producing.
fun
and
for you,
so
yeah.
It was fun, but it was very time consuming. And so that's what I would change, is trying to streamline my manufacturing to have that balance. And I would very much have loved to understand POD, because I think it would have created a better balance for me, to where I wouldn't have felt so tied down to the machinery that I had, to where I could have done it more on a fun level rather than a drastic, I've got to get through this level, you know? So.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. Those are good insights. I think, you know, anytime you can start a new business, just understanding what's going to go into it, the nuances, but also more efficient ways of doing things is always going to help you out. So number two. I don't know why I did that.
2, this is for you.
2 is mentors and systems.
Yeah.
Okay, I wish I would have gotten a mentor and had a system earlier. So when I started my online journey, I've always been really interested in online marketing. You've heard the story. In 2000, I came across a online marketing product from Frank Kern, who's a big-time internet marketer now. But I was always fascinated by it, right? But I never made an investment in myself to actually learn it, to get a mentor to show me a system. And so what ended up happening was, like, I just kind of dabbled all the time.
Dabbler.
Yeah, I was a dabbler. You were kind of, I don't know if you call yourself a dabbler, like, from
I think
your
I
story.
was forced into it. Like, I forced myself into it.
Because
It's
you bought
kind
the
of-
laser,
yeah,
right? So you had to make it.
I had probably $40,000 of stuff
So
after my
I was
woodworking
kind of
stuff.
opposite. I wouldn't commit into something, so I was just dabbling a lot. So I'd go from like affiliate marketing to, Facebook ads, Google ad. I was just interested in the whole marketing stuff as a whole, and I never really it never made me any real money. It's just because I was jumping around, and we mentor. We now mentor, and we have people in our mastermind groups, and I know just from talking and engaging with them that that's one thing that's really not helped them in the past is just not being focused on one thing, on having a mentor that will teach you, but then also following a system. And so two things that I can look back at two major milestones when things really took off for me. One was when in 2014 when the whole Teespring craze was coming. Instead of just kind of trying to figure it out on my own dabbling, I actually made a commitment and bought a course on how to sell on Teespring. And that absolutely changed my life. Like, I actually started making sales. I still had a full-time job, right? But I was making sales. I was learning the business. I was following a system,
Yeah.
and also there was a community there where I could talk to people and figure it out. That was huge. Like, if I could give you one thing from this whole podcast would be to find a mentor. Honestly, it's like finding a mentor can change, not only change your life, but speed up your path to success.
Why do you think people don't go for mentors?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's a cost thing, right? Because you think, well, I it's cheaper for me to just go on YouTube and listen. And we want you watching our videos, by the way. YouTube's great, but what I'm saying is once you decided in a direction you want to go to, it always makes sense to make an investment in that.
What do you think what's the difference between like a mentor and watching a podcast or doing videos or whatever?
Well, I think a mentor is very specific in teaching you a system. The right mentor will have a system for you to follow, right?
Like
And so not only that, but the mentor has been where you are and can show you a system to get you the results that you want quicker. Where I feel like with a lot of the YouTube stuff out there, it's just people giving tips and tricks, which are great. Like, we do that all the time. But if you want to be serious about your business, you want to find someone that's been down that road, who's been successful, and that has a system that you can follow. Why is McDonald's such a great investment business? Because they figure out
history.
They have the history. They figured out a system. They have they're not called mentors, but they have people that have done that business.
You buy a franchise into McDonald's,
Yeah.
you're franchised into this system that's got data, years, experience.
And so imagine you can do that, or you can try to start your own restaurant with no footing. That's what a lot of people do online. The thing with print on demand, it's easy to get started. We talk about this, but if you want to get serious about it, you need to have a system you follow. And so that was the first investment that I made in myself with a mentor and a system that actually, took me to where I was making sales. The next thing I can think of that really propelled me, that could have saved me. I was thinking about it. That could have, 10 years I was trying to make it work. And after getting a mentor, in a year, I was already, making sales, making money. So a mentor can really shortcut that. You think about sometimes you think, oh, the money you spend on a mentor is a lot, but then what about all the money you're wasting that you could have made had you made that investment? Does that make sense?
Yeah, as you're saying this, it reminded me of something too that I really admire about you as well. It's about networking.
Mm-hmm.
And because for me, it's so easy to go through life and just stay in your lane, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, here, I'm at the grocery store and I'm buying my groceries, or I'm doing my own thing, right?
Yeah.
And just a little conversation with someone, right?
Yeah.
You never know if that person standing next to you could be a multimillionaire that's grown a business of what you're trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if they've been down the same road that you've been down, right? It's like goes on the road of let's say you're going through a divorce or you're going through whatever. You never know. Everybody around you has had experiences as well, and they could be just as much of a mentor.
Yeah, that's
and because you don't open up to that person or ever even say hello.
Yeah.
you miss out on this relationship, this mentorship
Wow.
that you could have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it's
I
about
like
being
that.
open about that. And it's about networking. For me, I think that's just as crucial as mentorship. Is you can't find a mentor without networking.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's true.
Because I was thinking as you're talking about this, I'm like, well, how do you find a good mentor, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's bad
Yeah.
ones out there too,
Yep.
but it's networking and finding people and finding. You might meet somebody today that has nothing to do with your business, but it creates this relationship, and then
Yeah.
they open up and they go, "Oh, hey, my brother or my sister's been doing
So
that
true,
for
man.
years," and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you know?
meet someone that you're
We
one
met
person
that
away.
way.
Yeah,
we
we
met
totally
that way.
did.
My mentors were in my laser engraving business, were my old partners from my other laser engraving business. They were amazing mentors to me on B2B and how to sell national parks and sell to different businesses with laser engraving rather than doing it through the retail side. And they were great mentors. And I would have never met you if it wasn't for them.
Yeah,
Right?
that's very true.
That's how we met, was from networking.
Yeah, it's
You
so
know?
true. I love that. I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, so that was the first mentor that kind of propelled me into making money, gave me confidence. And that's the other thing. You don't just have one mentor and stop. You can have multiple mentors to take you to the next levels of your business, right? So that's what happened about a year later. I was given another mentor by Teespring, who really dialed in and looked at my business and said, you have to get on what we call LPWs, launches per week. You have to have a system in place where you're really disciplined on how many products you're launching a week. And we still use that. I actually
Do it all the
teach
time.
that because it's been successful for our business now. And so that mentor, that point in time was what allowed me to go full time. And so mentors at different stages can have different impact on you. And so
And speed, too.
in speed, like I wish I could go back to myself when I was first starting. Find someone that's doing what you want to do, like that's really doing what you want to do. Find that person and let them mentor you. Even if you have to pay them a little money, you're going to get to where you want a lot faster. So that's
Open the
number 2
relationship.
for me.
Take
Number
them to
2. I
lunch.
did number 3. Number 2. Yeah, exactly. Give value to them. That could be a whole other podcast. But yeah. All right. So you want to talk about number 3 now?
Well,
Or
for
do you
me,
want
I
to
don't
go?
think we covered systems as much either. Like, for me, systems are super important. I did a whole training on automation and systems, like once you can create that system, like what you said, like the mentor will help you understand what you need to do and help you with those systems. And I think that's the speed is once you can create systems in your business, it's one of the biggest issues that I had with manufacturing is I didn't have a real system. I would get home and be like, okay, I'm going to make a whole bunch of these, and then I'm going to go to a show, and I'm going to be at this retail show, and hopefully someone will buy a sign when they come to my booth or whatever, and all this grinding and stuff. And if I would have just sat down and come up with a system, I felt like I was spinning my wheels because it made me feel like I was busy rather than actually coming up with automation and systems that would actually bring results, And I think that is just as crucial as figuring out what's actually going to bring results to your business, and that's where the mentors come in with those systems, All right, number 3. I'll get it right this time. 3.
Do you want to talk about it?
Every
Do you want
time
me
I
to
say
jump in?
3 and I do that, I think of Shrek, where he goes, "Pick number 3, my lord." And he has like the 2 fingers up,
Number 3.
Pick number 3, my lord. Oh, okay, number 3.
You can start it if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
like
number
this.
3 is setting things up in place from the beginning to scale. So one of the things that we learned in our business together, I'll tell you a story about that. Sometimes we think, well, let me back up a second. Sometimes we think like when we first start a business, like the little things don't matter, like these little systems don't matter, because you never think about when you're going to scale, right? But having the right system, but also people in place, automations in place. It kind of goes back to number 2 a little bit, but setting things up from the beginning is super important, right? Because when things do blow up, when things do get hectic, you have people there, systems in place that can help you scale. So let me give you an example. This happened with our business, 2 years ago with the pandemic. We hit a massive home run with 2 products right around the same time. And we went from, and it was a slow time of year too, usually for us. So we didn't have the staffing in place that we needed or anything like that. But we went from 0 to what? 35,000 orders in like a month. Not 0, but
Yeah, it was a lot.
yeah.
I would say more than 35,000
Yeah, I
orders.
can't
It was a
remember. I have to
lot.
go look. But the point is like, one of the things that we didn't have in place, that had we done it correctly, we didn't have like a customer service person.
I was doing it
You
at
were
the
doing it,
time.
and it was fine.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, in the beginning, before all this happened. Yeah. But that's the point. Like, if we had just gotten someone to customer service, even if they worked a couple of hours a month, just to have that person there, when what hit the fan, it would have been prepared. Not only the person, but we were still doing support via Gmail, and so had we done some research beforehand and so we use Gorgeous. So shout out to you, Gorgeous. They do a great software for customer support. If we had just gotten customer support software in place, even if it's at a low end where you're not even a free plan or just maybe a couple bucks a month, as we were growing, we could have scaled and would have avoided so much headaches. Like then, well, of course you remember, when that happened, we were scrambling. Well, where do we find fortunately, we found a great partner with Gorgeous.
Not only were we scrambling, it was stressful. Like it was very
stressful.
Our emotions were tied into what we were doing. We felt like maybe we should shut down production altogether and stop making money. Like that's the last thing you should be looking at your business is maybe we should stop doing business. And it was really overwhelming, And if we would have, and honestly, it was like for the volume that we were doing, for 35,000 orders in a month, and I'd say it's even more than that. I think we spent like $1,200.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like if we would have just had, and the funny thing is it scales up and it scales down. It doesn't cost us that much.
Exactly.
And if we would have just done a little bit of research about it,
and set up our business the right way, look at our
place.
business, say what are the things we need for a business? Well, we probably need a customer support person.
Yeah.
Which at the time we didn't think so, but you really do. And we have a video here. In the channel, check it out. The 3 key hires. I did a podcast while you were gone about that. Check that out because this is part of it. Is to set that up right now. Because like you were saying, had we had that in place, had we had Gorgeous even at, a base plan, and we would have expanded out, we could have had so much less stress. We could have helped our customers have a better experience. We probably could have sold more. We probably could have sold more. Exactly.
And I think it goes down to perspective. Right. So, for instance, let's just make our own little story here, right? Joe Smo starts a business, right? And he says, "Okay, well, I only have $10 in the bank, and I'm going to start selling T-shirts, right? And I'm doing this marketing, and now that for every $10 I spend, I'm getting $10 back or $20 back, right?" And they go, "Well, I can't afford a customer service rep." Well, what makes you think you can't afford a customer service rep? Your own mindset. You just said, I can't afford a customer service rep. Have you done the research to make sure that you can't afford a customer service rep?
Exactly.
And so for me, it's perspective. In my mind, that's what I did. I said, we're not at a place yet where we can really afford this, right?
Yep.
And when I delved into it, the honest truth is, guys, I went out and I found someone that was a stay-at-home mom. Like, this is the honest truth. I just said, oh, okay, well, let's just go out there and put out this thing. Stay-at-home mom, contract labor, and it was hourly based off of what the volume was. So if there's one email that needed to be answered, they would answer one email.
Exactly.
If there was 10 that needed to be answered, they'd answer 10 emails. I think I've had in our business, back when we were just doing that and not doing the Quadra app and all that stuff too, we had some months where it was like, yeah, they might make a $1,200 bill or a $3,000 bill. But they're making that money while we're making money because those tickets come in while we're making money. And then we had other months where I think I paid them like $10. And I was like, why? And the ease that it brought into my business.
Oh, I know.
I was like, why didn't we just look at it? And it goes back to the fact that I stood in the way of our business because of my perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I would say the biggest thing on this is setting your business up to scale is first opening yourself up to being willing to research and look for new things and think outside the box. It's not as complicated as you think it is.
Yeah. And so just having those things in place from the beginning.
Yeah.
Treat treat your business like a business. Like when you're beginning, you're like, oh, I'm too small. I don't need all these systems. Treat it like a business.
Yeah.
Okay? If you treat it like a business, it'll scale quicker. You're going to be more successful, and you're going to have less stress. Okay?
For sure.
Brian, you can do number 4. Number 4 is probably one of your favorites, right?
This is, I don't know. This is the journey I've been going on the last, I don't know, 8 months.
So number 4, is that the right?
Number 4, just kidding. It's enjoy the journey more, be present, you know, and I'm actually reading a book right now that you suggested to me, and I'll put a plug in for this book.
Okay.
It's called The Power of Now. I can't pronounce his name. He's
Yeah.
German.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle, yeah. My last name is German, but I'm not really German. I'm adopted, so
Yeah.
I have an excuse, right? No, it's called The Power of Now. I've been listening a lot to Tony Robbins for the last year now, almost. I can't believe it's almost been a year, but
Yeah.
every morning I listen to Unleash the Power Within, and it's a lot about being focused on the present and choosing to feel the way you want to feel. And then John pointed me in the direction of this book called The Power of Now, and holy crap, it has really changed a lot of my thinking and my mindset. One of the things that he talks about in there is how we make every decision in our life based off of our emotions, on how we think it's going to make us feel. So everybody that's listening to this podcast, you started your business because of how you thought it would make you feel, or your family, how it would make your family feel, how it would make your family lifestyle be, and how that would make you feel. Like, it really goes down to that. And pretty much all that this book talks about is how you can feel however you want to anytime. It doesn't matter. You can feel good about your body and be fat, right? You don't have to accept the state that you're in, but you can be happy no matter what. You can choose to feel happy. You can choose to feel successful. You can choose to have those things whether you are or you aren't. And for me, I'm like, man, I wish I would have known this like 12 years ago when I started my business, because I feel like I just pushed and I pushed and I pushed, right? And it was like always the grind, and it was like I don't have to be happy because I'll be happy when I get to this point.
That's what I was just going to say, is for you listening too. I'll just reiterate a little bit what you said. You probably started this business because you're looking for how the business would feel once you're successful.
How it would make you feel.
How it make you feel. How you think it's going to make you feel. And what I've come to learn is that's a recipe for disaster.
Always.
I mean, we've made millions of dollars we still do.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't make you
back
feel
when you weren't
better.
I was thinking 2 years ago, I still wasn't happy. I remember when I first started print on demand, I'm like, it would be so cool if I made $1 million. Well, I got to $1 million, and I just felt the same way, if not maybe even a little worse. The point, what I'm trying to say, is that the joy comes in the journey. The joy comes from the day-to-day being present and enjoying the work you do.
And choosing to be happy. You don't have to like a situation.
Yeah.
You don't have to for instance, me and my wife, we're not perfect, believe it or not.
No,
right?
really? I thought you guys were.
And we don't agree on everything, right? It doesn't mean I have to agree with her or be happy with the situation. But I can choose to just be happy because I'm a happy person and because life is great, right?
Because life is right now.
It's about being present, right? And when you're present in the moment, it's really hard to be frustrated about something that's not in the present, right? Like that future goal that you're going to achieve has nothing to do with the present. Like you're present as long as you're planning, as long as you're doing the right tasks as you're present, will create your future, right? That's important.
Yeah, exactly.
That is important. It doesn't mean that you get to just walk through life and be like, I'm happy and I have no money and I have no job. No.
Yeah.
You still need to be present and be like, okay, well, when I'm at work, I'm working. When I'm at home, I'm at home. I felt like for the last 12 years of my life, I would go to work, and the whole time that I was at work, I knew that I still had tasks to get done with my business, right? And when I did my business full time, that was my day job. But I would work till like 12, 1 o'clock at night, and the work never ended. And I always felt like I had more to do for the business to get it to where I wanted it to be. But the whole time I was there, I felt like I was robbing my family. And then when I'd get home, the whole time I was at home, I felt like I was robbing my work. So I could never be happy in any situation.
Yeah.
And people always say, well, you got to put on the hat. You got to put on the dad hat when it's time to be the dad, and you've got to put on the work hat when it's time to be the boss. And the honest truth is, you don't have to put on any hats. You just have to be present.
Yeah,
There is no
exactly.
hat to put on. It's like when you're
Yeah.
at work, you realize, okay, I've got 8 hours today.
Uh-huh.
And these are the 8 hours that I'm going to put in here. And I'm going to be present. I'm going to make sure that they're the best 8 hours of work I can possibly put in.
Yeah.
And then when I get home and my son says, Dad, will you show me how to do a backflip on the tramp? I'm not just going, man, I really wish I was at work getting that task
Or
done.
thinking about
Or
it,
thinking
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
It's I can just let it go. It's crazy. I don't know how to explain
Well-
this, but I can just let it go, and I can jump on the tramp with my son and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is everything works out. It's
You're
about
probably
being
more
present.
productive, right?
I'm more productive in everything I'm doing in my life right now. It's so cool.
It is cool, and it's the biggest lesson that this entrepreneurial journey has taught me is to find fulfillment in what you're doing right now, and don't look for your future success to save you from who you are right now.
Because you're going to show up there the same person.
You're gonna show, yeah, you're gonna be just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process of building your business.
Enjoy the present.
I never did, man. I was never, because I was building something cool, but I always had my eye on something in the future, and
Something
I
that
was
could
not
be cooler.
enjoying myself. In fact, I was like you know, I was causing some pain in my family because I was stressed, I was nervous, I was always thinking about work. You remember 2020 when we were, you know, running ads all day long. You know, we had
You're
those
up all
spikes.
night.
I was up all night, you know, and the thing is, I'm not saying don't work hard. It just goes back to what you're saying. Just enjoy the journey. When you're working, work. When you're with your family, be present. Be with your family. Be present.
Work
Enjoy
hard.
the journey.
When it's time to work,
Yeah.
work hard. Don't be a
Mhm.
lazy worker. When it's time to work, work hard. When it's time to play, play hard. Don't think about the work. Think about playing. Think about the
Yeah.
moment that you're in. And honestly, like you're gonna find that you're 10 times more productive
Yeah.
than you ever could be.
None of the success we have in the future with Quadra, which is going to be massive,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be more fulfilling to what's happening right now for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Period.
that's what's so cool about this, is being able to find fulfillment in where I am right now.
Well, so I saw a video that really stood out to me, and the guy took an hourglass, just like this. I'm glad I got this, by
Yeah.
the way. So he took this hourglass, okay? And I know for those of you that are just listening, you can't see it, but he pointed to the top where the sand is stored and is getting ready to fall through, and he said, this up here represents your future. You don't know how much time you have left, and you have no control over that. You really don't have any control over it, period. But down here on the bottom is your past, and you can't control what's already there. What happened, happened. The only purpose of life is right here in the center where the sand is falling through. That's the present.
Yeah.
And that's all that it's about.
Yeah.
Is as this sand is falling through, is being present.
Uh-huh.
Is being a part of that and being excited about it.
Uh-huh.
The most important moment in your life is what you're living.
Yeah.
Period.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's really crazy. So just to sum up point number 4, if you're stressed out about your entrepreneur journey, POD, whatever you're doing, the biggest advice I think we both give you is just breathe, relax, be present, enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
And if you can do that, you're going to be successful. Okay.
And you're going to be happy.
And you're going to be happy, right?
What's the point of being
Yeah.
successful if you're not happy?
Exactly.
You know?
That's exactly
Do
right.
both. Get them both.
Exactly. Number 5. Okay, so I'll just jump in on this one. Number 5 is huge for me, is involving your family in the business. And this is something we've done recently. I've had my daughter work here. But beyond just having the day-to-day, work with kids or whatever, it's sharing your business with your wife, with your loved ones, what's going on. Like the other day, my daughter, she commented on a YouTube video. Shout out to you, Millie. But it's when I was first starting my business, I kept everything to myself. Like here, and I still struggle with that. It's like,
Go it alone.
yeah, go it alone. But I would just, because part of me was like, well, I want to forget about work when I come home or whatever. But the reality is you're going to have a richer business if you involve your family. If you're talking to your family about your business,
Oh, yeah.
if you're involving them with ideas, If you can get your kids to work for you, that's a huge thing
Well, it's
too.
usually what you're doing your business for,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So to involve your family in your business, make them part of it, and that's something I'm really still working
Yeah.
towards. But you have younger kids that can't necessarily work in the business. So how do you try to involve your family with the business?
We talk about it all the time, you know. I try and bring them into the office every now and then so
Yeah.
they can see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, understand what dad does, you know.
Yeah.
Me and my wife talk about it all the time. My wife does her own business too, so we're
Yeah.
always trying to communicate, and that's one thing that we've tried to be better at, because we always kind of struggled with that, right? She did her thing, I did my thing, right? And then we'd come together as a family and do our stuff as a family, but it was always kind of like we just never agreed on certain things, you know. And the funny thing about it is it goes back to that being present thing, is that I don't have to agree with all the way that my wife runs her business, and she doesn't
Yeah,
have to agree with how I run my
exactly.
business.
Yeah.
But it is great to be able to tell her how I'm running my business and how I
Yeah.
am doing things,
Yeah.
and then to have her listen to that, and then vice versa, me too, you know. And it really opens it up, and it makes you feel like you're not going through that journey just by yourself or with those that you're working with. You're going through it with the people that you're actually spending the rest of your life with, you know. And it feels like it encompasses everything by having your family involved with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think if you can look for ways to involve your family, I know a lot of our students, they have teenagers and kids that are older, and they get them involved. And
Make them the customer service rep.
yeah,
I'm
there you
just
go.
kidding.
Actually, back in the day, I actually had my mom doing customer service. I talked about it in another podcast, but my mom was running customer service for me, and
That first Mother's Day that we did, I had my mom come and work for me
that's
for a week
right.
to help
Yeah,
me
and
catch
my
up on
kids
orders.
did too.
And your
Remember,
daughters
they
came
worked
and
in the
worked,
shop.
yeah.
Yeah. So just involve your family. But I know this episode went a little longer, but I think we covered some things that I hope you've taken to heart, because we've been down this road. We're still learning. There's levels that we're going to that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But for those of you that are starting out or looking to scale your business, I can tell you these 5 things can really change your life. Not only change your life, but
They
make your
will.
journey, make your journey more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, again, you got into this business because you wanted freedom. You wanted to live a life that was rewarding. And so don't make the process of getting to that life miserable.
Yeah.
Don't make that process something that doesn't fulfill you. Because honestly, you think you're sacrificing good feelings for a reward in the future, where no, you actually are not. Right now is what matters. So enjoy the journey right now. And when you get to wherever you're going, it'll just be that much more. I love that quote by Tony Robbins that says, he was talking about how these guys go to the moon and then they come back and they get depressed because they've already fulfilled their life's mission.
Yeah.
And he said they have it backwards, where first find fulfillment in a handshake and a smile, and then also you can go to the moon.
Yeah.
If you can learn to have a fulfilling life in the present moment, doing what you're doing now, when you get to wherever you're going, it's just going to be. It's not going to be better or worse. It's just going to be part of your life and something that is just
The deep
part
honest,
of your present moment.
The deep honest truth about it is everything in your life is just a thing, right? Like it's just a concept or a construct, right? Like for instance, a business is just something that you have, right? Like you can have a business, you can't have a business. Like there's tons of different ways to live your life. The problem that we have is we always feel like things are what's going to make us happy or make us feel good. And in that same recipe of looking at it like, well, if I have a successful business, it'll make me feel good. Well, the whole time that you're building that business, you can't enjoy the business. What's the point of having something if you can't enjoy it? Like, why not have something and enjoy it and then grow it to what you want it to be? It's like buying a new car and never enjoying having a new car, right? It's just having that car to think that it makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
When it really doesn't. It's super important. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So, guys, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you check out our other videos. Check out GoQuadra.com. We have a lot of free videos there, content for growing a POD business. But yeah, we invite you to continue to watch, follow us, as we're going to give you more content like this that'll hopefully help you and enrich your life. So.
Let's do this together, guys.
Okay, have
That's
a good
awesome.
one.
See ya.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, could you do me a huge favor and like this video? Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got tons of great content there. And if you want to connect with us on social media, check out the links in the description. And we look forward to seeing you there.